All right, it's no secret what's going on down there in South America, right? The United States military, the Venezuelan military. There's a possibility that they're going to get into some pretty heavy beef, right? We're blowing ships about the water. There's Marines and F-35 and U.S. naval assets being stationed down there, or they're already currently stationed down there. There's definitely some trouble brewing. Quick disclaimer though, this video is not political. Some radars and systems were skipped due to a lack of sources or really just relevance, so bear with me here. Alright, Venezuelan Mariscal Sucre class frigate. Is it dangerous? I don't know. Let's find out. Alright, so just some general ship facts and history. This thing's got a length of 113.2 meters. It's got a beam of 11.3 meters and a draft of 3.7 meters. It's considerably smaller than the U.S. Navy destroyers down there, right? This thing is only a frigate. It's got two LM 2500 gas turbines and a Kodak configuration, so it'll be able to get up to speed pretty quick, which tops out at about 30 to 35 knots, and she's got a range of 4,300 nautical miles. All right, she was built by the Italians for Venezuela. They originally ordered 6 ships of this class, but only one remains. And the only remaining one was commissioned on March 7th, 1981, and she's home ported in Puerto Cabello. She underwent extensive equipment overhauls in Pascagoula, Mississippi from 1998 to 2002. For you guys that don't know, Pascagoula, Mississippi is home of Ingalls Shipbuilding. It's where a lot of U.S. Navy destroyers are coming out of right now. She originally held a complement of 185 sailors, 20 being officers, but after some upgrades and things like automation, she only needs 131 crew members. Alright, the missile, the Automat Mark II, right? It's the age of the missile, so everybody loves talking about, right? It's all over the news. So this thing is sea skimming anti-ship cruise missile with INS and GPS guidance. It has an active guided radar seeker in its terminal phase of flight. It's waypoint capable and has the ability to support third-party targeting. It can be re-vectored by helicopters and aircraft. It's kind of touching on that third-party targeting, right? It only travels at 0.91 Mach. It's subsonic. In the world of missiles, that is slow. Very unimpressive speed. And it's got a range of around 107 nautical miles. Again, you're not really knocking anybody's socks off with that. That's decent, but at the end of the day, for an anti-ship cruise missile, I would consider that just to be okay. Now, this thing does have an excellent warhead, right? Semi-piercing, high explosive. Now, this last bullet point I have starred. This is why I think this thing is important, right? This missile is capable of defeating ships' electronic countermeasures and close-in weapon systems. Let's talk about that, right? But first, here are the launchers. They're big as hell. You can't miss them. All right, let's talk about the United States Navy chaff, right? This is a part of its electronic warfare suite. The United States Navy, they can shoot chaff off. They can distract a active guided radar seeker and potentially defeat that missile. Now, the Automat Mark II is marketed and advertised as being able to defeat electronic countermeasures. Chaff is a form of, ECM. It's mechanical jamming, is what it's considered. Now, can the Automat Mark II defeat chaff? Well, chaff's old. There's chaff rounds that have been in the fleet for 40, 50, 60 years, right? The Automat Mark II is definitely newer than that. It's advertised as being able to defeat this kind of stuff. I can't tell you for sure if it can, but you can kind of make a really good educated guess, but I can't tell you for sure. Now, let's talk about Sea Whiz and Sea Ram, right? Sea Whiz on the left, that's the famous 20 millimeter chain gun, shoots thousands of rounds a minute, right? And you have Sea Ram on the right. It's a little newer. It shoots ESSM missiles at a short range to defeat missiles. This is hard kill. This is point defense, hard kill. This is part of that last line of defense. And again, the Automat Mark II is advertised as being able to defeat systems like this. Now, let's talk about NOLCA, right? A lot of people don't know about NOLCA. It's a joint project of the USA and Australia, and it could be effective against the technology in the Automat Mark II. But info like this is going to be classified, so we can only speculate. Nulka is another form of ECM. The Navy can, shoot Nulka out from the boat and it flies away from the ship and it can, seduce the missile seeker. It can, deceive it and it goes and follows a Nulka and eventually just falls into the ocean. If you want to learn more about Nulka, there's plenty of stuff on YouTube, so I won't get too much into it. But again, this is the hot off the press. This is the Navy's new news, so can the automat, distinguish from Nulka or ship? I can't tell you for sure, but next slide. All right, so bottom line up front, right? Again, foot stomping this. If you really didn't listen to anything I just said, give me 30 seconds, all right? This missile is smart. It's packed full of modern technology. It's got a good arsenal of tricks up its sleeve. Has the potential to be very dangerous. But a big weakness that this thing is slow. It is slow as hell. If the operators in Combat Information Center on board a U.S. Navy destroyer get a good detect on this missile at a decent range, they will have all day to shoot this thing down. Alright, Automalair's 5-inch gun. Caliber, you guessed it, 5-inch. Rate of fire, 40 rounds per minute, with an effective range of 15,000 meters. Ammunition storage, 66 rounds ready to fire and 3 loader drums of 5 to 600 on standby. Hey, that's not that bad. Ammo types, high explosive, illumination, and I'm willing to bet that they've got, rounds for air contact and then, a list of rounds they could use on a surface contact. I couldn't really find anything on that. But is this thing a threat? Yeah, for sure. 5-inch is plenty to punch right through any, modern naval vessel nowadays. We don't have battleships like we did in the past. This is a hot knife through butter. This thing is a threat. Again, there it is. It's gigantic, even for a 5-inch. Alright, the Auto Twin Compact, or the Dardo. I think I'm pronouncing that right, but all I know is that Dardo is Italian for dart. Alright, this thing's got a rate of fire of 300 rounds per minute, times 2, right? You can see 2 barrels there. Caliber, 40 millimeter, effective range, 2 nautical miles. Now, here's the thing about that 2 nautical miles. I heard that, and I wasn't exactly convinced this thing can touch out effectively at 2 nautical miles. But I don't know. I don't have experience with this thing. If somebody does, drop it in the comments. I would love to know if it really is effective at the 2 nautical miles. Anyway, mag size, 736 rounds on a Type A mount, 440 rounds on a Type B mount. Couldn't figure out what kind of mount is on this Venezuelan frigate, so I just gave you guys both. There it is. Big weapon system. Kind of a running theme here. Mark 29 octuple launcher, going with that theme of gigantic weapon systems. This thing holds 8 Sea Sparrow missiles for surface-to-air missile defense. It's an old U.S. Navy design. Another foot stomp here. 8 missiles. That's it. If this thing was engaged, they would go Winchester right away, and then they would proceed just to get smoked. There it is. Alright, Mark 32 triple torpedo tubes can fire 12.75-inch torpedoes. I'm unsure of what type of torpedo they carry on this frigate. If you know, let me know in the comments. I know I say that a lot, but again, half of these sources are in Spanish. The other half don't really exist. I had to do a lot of digging, a lot of research. Anyway, I couldn't find a good photo of the location of the launchers, but I think that is them right there. If you know, hey, let me know. Alright, ELM 2238 Star 3D. This thing is Israeli made. Kind of all you gotta know, right? This thing's an S-band radar. It radiates in the 2 to 4 gigahertz range. It's a 3D air search radar capable of using multiple modes, meant to track air contacts and missiles. This fills the role of United States Navy Spy 1. The max range is about 190 nautical miles. Aircraft detection range 135 nautical miles. Automatic detection of a missile at 15 nautical miles. And it's capable of coordinating surface gunnery engagements. All those stats are found right from the manufacturer's website for this radar. These are good numbers. Detecting an aircraft from 135 nautical miles away? Hey, that's not half bad at all. And it's a frigate. There it is again. Gigantic flat screen TV just spinning up there playing Family Guy. Cool. Alright, again, electronic warfare system, but again, it's built by Israel. It's kind of all you gotta know. This thing's probably pretty decent. There's not a lot on this system, but it's safe to assume it operates like any other EW antenna or suite on a Navy ship, right? Providing 360-degree coverage. It's also safe to assume it can assist electronic countermeasures being deployed to defend the ship from anti-ship cruise missiles. There they are. Those are the antennas. All the other equipment is inside. You won't be able to see them. Alright, more electronic warfare. Originally outfitted with 2 Bredescolar chaff launchers. Ship was potentially, footstop on potentially fitted with Mark 137 launcher. I put that in quotations. Probably means like a Mark 36 Serbach launcher, maybe Mark 53. I'd have to check when that, was introduced in the United States Navy. Probably a Mark 36. Couldn't really find out with 100% source that this thing had Mark 137 system on it. But at the end of the day, what's the utility of a chaff launcher? It's that it shoots chaff. So the ship's capable of firing chaff. There they are. They kind of just chill up there. It looks like a Mark 36 Serbach launcher if I've ever seen one. Alright, sonar, Raytheon DE1160B, which is the export name for the SQS-56. This is the original hull-mounted sonar. Now, don't laugh too hard at me. I'm about to, half-heartedly source Wikipedia here, but the ship may have been upgraded with a more modern SQS-53C, so take that with a grain of salt. The reason that I even included this, and I originally was just going to scrap this sentence out of here, but the reason I included this is because when I was doing my digging about the sonar system, SQS 53 kept popping up, and I kind of thought to myself, hey, like, is this just made up across all these different sites? And, but I couldn't find anything concrete. So, best case scenario, we plan that they have a better system, then they have a worse system, so I included it. And I can't find a photo of any of these systems on the ship. That's because it's underwater. Alright, AB-212, anti-surface warfare, anti-submarine warfare. Yeah, there we go. Helicopter. The Venezuelan Navy purchased 6 helicopters to complement their original fleet of frigates. Has an APS 705 sea spray radar that operates in the I-band. It shows right there above the pilot. And it's got a TG2 system for guiding automatic missiles. Hey, revectoring the missile. We learned about that earlier. But hey, Frank, what's up with that question mark? Well, I don't know what that box is right there, in purple. Is that the TG2 system? I don't know. Is it a nav, like another nav radar on the helicopter? I don't know. I'm not really familiar with this platform, so if you know, let me know. If I'm wrong, call me stupid. Alright, anyway, this thing's got 2 PT-60 Pratt & Whitney engines, AQS-13B sonar system, capable of dipping sono buoys. Does this helicopter and its sono buoys have a chance in hell at finding a U.S. Navy submarine? I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, no, not at all. I don't think there's anybody who's mentally sane who would think that this thing can find a U.S. Navy submarine. But hey, they can dip sono buoys, so I guess for them, right, they checked another thing off on their clipboard. Alright, this thing's got 2 A224 torpedoes, capable of mounting small arms by the door. There's 2 hardpoints for rockets and missiles, or torpedoes. And this helo could have a FLIR sensors capability, and it would go right where that little box in purple is. Cool. Overview. This thing's aging. This thing's old, built in 1981, or commissioned in 1981. So it was built before that. It's not really outfitted for prolonged conflict against the USN, right? They have 8 of those Automat Mark IIs. It's not a lot, This thing is built like a shotgun, right? I'm gonna shoot 2 shells and then, hey, gotta go back to port to reload, right? It's gonna shoot 8 of its surface to air missiles, and if they're even Let's just say in a perfect world, they shoot 8 missiles and they shoot down 8 missiles. It doesn't matter. United States Navy's gonna hit them with 60, right? Like, doesn't matter. All right, it's got a slow missile. The automat is slow. It's such a big deal, right? That's such a big deal if this thing's slow. And the material condition and watertight integrity is questionable. They don't got a lot of funding. Their economy is poor. And they don't have an answer for a basic attack from the USN. So, hey, that's the one Venezuelan frigate they got. I wish this thing good luck if anything serious happens. Here are my references, and thanks for watching.